Hello, my name is Max Drake. I'm doing a whole load of videos, and I've got a Patreon account. But basically, what I try and do is free or low-cost productivity apps, tools, and ways. I explore some mobile apps and things like that, and look at low-code or no-code apps, and just looking at free tools that people can use to actually get things done. I previously was working on a few things where I was locked into enterprise versions of things, and sometimes I found there was a lot of free tools out there that would do as well, if not better, and offer better solutions than some of the enterprise ones within them. But people would not want to shift from there. They actually have, it's easier that they can actually sue somebody if the tools don't work, and so they would pay for the more expensive ones. And the two that I'm going to talk about today are the Honeycode and its Microsoft equivalent, which is the PowerApps. Now, the last video I did on the Honeycode, I was a bit, it kind of kept scratching at me. You know, the app just doesn't seem to make sense to me, and I can't understand why. So anyway, I went to the opposition and just suddenly said, well, what have you got for a toy? So they've got this one here called PowerApps, and I just looked up a thing and said, well, when was it first started? And it came through with 2015. So basically, it's a 5-year-old app. And it's seriously kick-ass. Now, it's not a no-code, but it is a sort of a low-code thing in a way, is that you can come through here and let's just go through and create an app from scratch. So when you come through here, you've got to give a name, and you've got to say whether it's for a tablet or a phone. So if you actually wanted to do it for a phone, then, and you want it for a tablet as well, you would actually have to make two apps. So you just make the same app, and a lot of it's to do with the interface. One would be landscape, one would be portrait. So that's really the notion, unless you're twisting your phones around really, or your tablet around, and in some ways you're doing. So it comes through and generates it. One thing which I don't like is it keeps on generating new tabs almost every time you press a button, which can be quite infuriating. So it comes through onto this one here, and it loads up, and it says it's got app templates that you can actually use, and it's got blank templates through there that you can actually chew up and use. So it's pulled me through into this App Studio. Now, first of all, we can create a form to logging in or something like that. We can create a gallery, which is what we're going to do, or we can take an interactive tool just to see how an app is built, which is quite gamble. But at this point in time, I'm just going to grab a gallery because that's all I did. Now, I'm not interested at this point in time in actually building an app from scratch. All I really look at is how you deploy the thing. So on this one here, it comes through and it's just dropped this. So this is really a list of things coming through. Now, when I started to look at this, I actually went to my Excel and Excel sheet. So I thought, oh, I'm going to be doing PowerApps, so it's Excel. And I made a task list, and all I did was basically a shopping list, and I just put some information down, and then I had a date, and then whether it's completed, yes or no. And so I just wanted a bit of simple data, and I thought, well, I'll connect to my app, I'll connect to my spreadsheet, and then I'll be able to do what I wanted to. And then when I actually opened up the app and tried to get the data for the source, I got all confused. I couldn't actually find my Excel. I could get onto my file directory to get it. Then I reflected about it and suddenly realised what a thicko I was, is that obviously you need to be able to access that with your mobile wherever you are. So obviously your mobile can't necessarily access your PC anywhere, so it needs to be a cloud services of something. So there's Excel Online it will let you access to, or other things as well, which we'll talk about. So this is the first interface that we can actually go through, and within the gallery you can actually get some different formats that you can go through. So that's going to go through and put a different format through there. Now within the vertical one, when I first did this, there was other vertical ones that you could do, and this one here I don't particularly like. Oh, it seems to have done one on top of, no, it shouldn't have done that. Oh, it's done two galleries, so I'm just going to have to go and see if I can delete that one and delete that second one there, because I seem to have made another one on top of the other one. I'm going to delete that one there. So I'm back to that one there. So I've got a few options as to how that one looks. There were other options, and it keeps on doing that. And it's coming through with these images. Now, I did actually have an option. So this has an image, a title. So if I touch the image, it gives you the image, the title, and the subtitle. I found I could do an alternative one through there where I ended up with a title, a subtitle, and a description, and then I could actually have three things through here, and depending where they are, I can move that one across and up over to there, and then it also automatically changes on the other ones. Then I can actually change this so I can actually say the title is something else. Now this has just got garbage through there because I'm not connected to anything. So normally the first thing you do, you connect to a back end of some description. So we're going to go into connectors. Now I'm just going to go into Google Sheets through here because Google Sheets is online, and I actually just cut and paste this data through there. So it's going to link into my account that I've got associated with this. It's gone into my Google Drive, and I've got this to-do one through there that's done it. So I now pull that one up. And then it says, which sheet do I want to join to? So I've only got one sheet's worth of there, and I'm going to say connect. So now it's going to populate that information through there. So the other thing that I did after I did that, so it should be thinking about doing that sort of thing, is that I added things like a label, and then I added a thing like a button and stuff. Oi, why haven't you done this? I'm just going to hop over to here. So the next part of it was basically I created a little bit of an app through there that's got a bit of data on there. Oh, sorry, this is the one that I want to talk about. So when I was messing around and doing that, you know, one of the things, this one I ended up with three items coming through there. So if I just go to the tree view, there's the gallery, it's got the body, the subtitle, and the title, and I can adjust those over. I'm not too sure where those are, and I did find them. The other one I found, if I went up to the screen, I could go and instead of put a color in the background just to give the thing a bit of a lift through there, I could actually bring an image through, and I got quite a revolting image that was a bit too in your face. So you could do that sort of thing. So it's got a whole lot of things. One, it's got things like it's connecting. It's got things like images that it's just yanking in quite a way. It's doing a whole lot of simplistic stuff. There's a whole load of other toys through here. It's got all these functions that you can go through here that you can do some quite sophisticated coding through here. So it can get into the big boy stuff and do some serious nasty coding. But you can do the low level apps as well. So that's quite good. So you can connect to the data source. Now, what the next thing that, again, the first one of the first ones that I did with Honeycode was how do I deploy it? So let's just go into File, and we're just going to go and save that through there. And then it's got a list of all of the things going through. Now, again, it's got these things called flows. So they're like the automations. Now, I haven't published this yet, so I don't know if I publish it, how I then get it onto the things. But you can do a share down here. Now when I did a share, you see it opens up another one yet again, and I don't want all of that garbage to there. What it gives me is it gives me a web link. Yeah, hooray. So I can actually just go through there and set it so I can see my app. Hooray. So this is all I want to do. So I can play with it and test it and something like that. So what I need to do is just carry on updating that thing, saving it in the other one and updating it. So that's quite good as tweaking. So it's a good interface for actually just working on and seeing whether things work. Now just going back to that app on the other one through there, if we just go into that tree through again, you see it's got the atom. So this is pre-built. Like on that button area there, you can actually put a bit of code which might say go across to another place or make an edit page or something like that. So again, you can actually have these different screens, so you actually keep your screens quite simple. You can see your views on there. You can test out if that's squared. I can scroll down to all the information that I've got through onto there, and that's quite handy. So it does some nice things. But what blew me away when I started to look to this is when I started to look at connectors. And then there's some media coming through here that you can connect to, and there's some advanced tools for testing and stuff like that. But when I came into here, this is what blew my socks off. Look at these connectors. Look what you can connect to. Blogger. There's a whole load of third-party stuff coming through here, and some of them, and things like, if we just come to the top, things like SQL Server, Azure Container, a lot of the other Azure stuff and things like that, database and things. they're on the premium one, so that means you're linking directly into the cloud. So instead of a little baby spreadsheet at the front, you've actually got a bit of muscle. So you're tying into a database and get some real intelligent stuff. You can do graphs and things like that. That was another interesting thing that I found. If you actually look through here they got pie charts and stuff that alter when you actually change the data. Here's one which is a site inspection app that has actually got images and stuff through here. Here's one that's doing budgets trackers. Here's one that's doing fundraising stuff that people have got. They've got different interfaces and stuff coming through. Inventory management stuff, cost estimator. I don't know if that's got the mapping with it and stuff, but Estimator Pro. So there's project manager, property management stuff, a whole lot of help desk stuff. So good things that you can actually start off with. So similar to when you're building an app through here, look, we've got a few templates that you can look at, and I think these ones are pretty simplistic as well. But these ones in some way seem to be a copy of what these ones here are. So there's two things that I want to break down through here. Now, this is the best thing I can do is then go to the next part of the pricing. So this is where you get a real heck kicking over. So first of all, I just want to talk about a couple of things through here. So here with the connectors, the basic one is Excel. Now, obviously, I couldn't link to my Excel sheet, but I can link to Excel Online. So you can actually go create a free Microsoft account and do Excel Online. The other thing that I actually wanted to tag, to get the free account, you've actually got to have a business account. It won't let you use a personal account to actually do that login. Now there's Excel Online. Now this is another thing I want to take. Again, when I just said at the beginning, I'm interested in free or low cost productivity tools. Excel Online is an equivalent to a certain extent of Google Sheets Online. The only problem is Excel Online to do the formulas, but it doesn't let you do the VBA. So you can't actually do the macros in behind. So it's far more limited. They want you to pay for their desktop version that actually has all of that VBA on there. Now, I'm not too sure if the Excel Online business does have the VBA on there, but you're buying a business account, so that's going to cost you more anyway. So just be aware of those. So this is another thing that I want to highlight through here. The other one is with things like APIs. You can actually, one that I'm just going to use here is weather. So let's just say you're doing an inspection app where you're going out onto properties, or you're going onto roofs, or you're doing something. You may want to add some weather information onto your app. So you don't have to jump out of your app straight away. You can just bang into your app. I'm going out this afternoon, boom, onto that. The weather's going to be this. No, not a good time to do it. I'll do it another day. There's also, if I just go to Bing, there's the Bing maps that you can link into. So these are ones that you can get. You don't actually have to be on the special account to do this. And if we go into these, you need an API key, and a lot of those they actually give you for free. But what it means is you can put a search engine inside your app, so you don't have to come out and open up a browser to do your searches there. Again, there's a Bing map, and again, you need an API for that one there as well. So just be aware that all of these ones here, they have API connections. So this one, for a 5-year-old app, it's allowing you to do an awful lot of things. Now, again, the way that this structures here is that if you come through and we just start looking at some of the other tools that it's actually got through there, you can link to an SQL database at the back. You can link to an Azure container and things like that. So you can do some programmatically stuff at the back end so that what you get into your app is quite simple. But also in the app itself, you can actually do quite a lot of programmatic stuff inside here as well. And in fact, the beginning demo shows how you do some of those simple things through there and connections. And because it's been around for a while, there's a lot of enthusiasm about it. And so there's a lot of data on this sort of thing. So again, if we now just look at the pricing, now this is serious kicking stuff. So way above my price range. So $10 US per user per app per month. So if you have one app and you want to distribute it to 20 people, then that's going to cost you $200 a month. If you want to run unlimited applications for multiple business scenarios, it's $40 per user per month. So if you've got 20 people, then that's going to be $800 a month. So that's quite a whack on it at this point in time. So that's where, if we just go back to the Honeycode, in the pricing, straight away you get 20 members for free. So, and then if you want to link through and tunnel into your API, I'm presuming that if you've created an app, the other 19 people can use that app for free, but you're the one who's actually building it through here, so you only have to pay that 20. So maybe that's $20, and then if you want to go over, then it's cost you $10 a month. So it's pricing, to me, that there's sort of quite a big jump through a lot of these sorts of things here, that your pricing is much lower than what you are in here, but what you're offering is not very much at all. Now, again, we talked about the API through there, and we talked about API goes in and reaches out and pulls in some stuff. Now, query coming through. Now, from the point of view of APIs, I'm going to talk about one that I understand a little bit about, and that's Revit, which is a BIM modeler. So it's a building information modeler, so it does 3D buildings and all of that sort of stuff. And it's basically a bloody great big database with amounts of information and a lot of code at the front end. They let you access some functions. So Revit has an API that you can go through. So it lets you access some of the functions, but not other ones. So they only let you have a limited amount. Now, within there, programmatically, you can change the color of walls, and you can do this or make them invisible or do some other stuff. So there's a whole lot of tools and apps that you can actually build as add-ins to that program as a third-party type thing. But they limit what you can do. So the API is very, very restricted, or can be restrictive, or it can be quite open. So if you are actually in doing something in that SQL, you've got a lot more access at this level than an API coming and linking into the SQL from outside. A lot of the times you're actually adding a token to protect it, to make sure that they don't go through and Mogador it. And then they only give you certain things, like you can only do a few simple queries. Now, if you're doing that, what it actually means, if you've got an interface between this and another one, this app and something else, your interface either has to be seriously dumb if you're keeping it into the no code, or else you're requiring on a bit of coding at the back end, at the other end of the database or something like that. So from a point of view of here, where you're in the AWS environment, you would need to either make it dumb, or you need to have a serious coder at the other end to do that. So linking through into that area there, which you can do in the two higher tiers, the two paid tiers, the Plus or the Pro, I haven't had access to that, but I don't think it's going to be that powerful anyway, personally. Now, let's just step back another thing and just look at these apps overall. Now, PowerApp says, give me where do you want to store your data, or what you want to do with your data, and then suddenly they've got all of these connectors that they can come into. So it's got third-party connectors that it might just be sucking a bit of information. Just go and get me some weather, or if as soon as I open it up, what date time is now, go and do that. It's got things through here called flows. And so it can automate some of the things similar to what this one does here with their automations and stuff. But what this says is basically, I'll have an app, I can programmatically do things, and I can get into some serious coding at this front end. Or else I can leave it a little bit dumb, but I will go and link to something else outside. So my data is not linked to my app. So it's not sitting in my app, and it's actually sitting on a cloud. It could be an Excel sheet, it could be a Google sheet, it could be an SQL database, it could be a Salesforce, or whatever there are, and all these other Microsoft things that they actually do. I can go out there. So they've de-linked these two things apart. Now, if you look at GlideApps, it's a third-party people, and they've developed quite a nifty sort of an app, in my opinion, that links into Google Sheets. If you look at AppScripts, that's another one that links into Google Sheets as well. And there's a few more. If you look at MIT App Inventor, what they do is that they actually have a thing called Tiny Apps, so they can actually have a Tiny DB that you can actually have on your mobile phone. So if you have a whole load of contacts, they can actually just store that in a DB on your phone, bring that into there, or else they can link to something like Firebase, that's in beta at this point in time, or else you can have external data somewhere else. So all of them tend to de-link the data from the actual app. The app is really the GUI that goes off and gets those things and does things, and then it displays the stuff later on. I input data, I display data back onto me, what I do. So that's the logic behind those ones here. But this one just completely confuses me as to why they've decided to build their own sort of spreadsheet that's pretty dumb. Their tables an extreme, as I said, I feel it's 1980s spreadsheet. It's clunky, it's awkward. Why they built it inside there? So they've coupled the GUI interface with the data sheet overall. You can't suddenly say, oh, I don't want to use that. I want to go and link to something else. I want to link to something else. I want to link to something else. I want to link to 2 or 3 things. It says, no, you've got to work through this clunker. And so this is what confuses me. This is 2020. Everybody's been building apps for a while. There's a lot of free stuff out there. And they've sort of said, no, let's just go back in history and go and do what can we make to make it really awkward. But to control it, what we'd do is if we put it into here, we can make it really dumb. But I actually, seriously, I had an app, well, I didn't, not quite having it up and running. I can have something up and running in this far quicker than I can actually have something running in here. Just the whole awkwardness and the way that the tables are structured and everything, you've got to do a whole specific learning on that. But at the end of it, it's not giving you any more power. You know, what you get from these ones, from the Power App, what you can get from the GlideApp, far more power and than what this is doing. So I think they kind of said, AWS, oh, we don't have a spreadsheet. We don't want to use Microsoft's Excel online. We don't want to use Google Sheets online. What's our alternative? Oh, look, we'll build a clunker of a table, a database type thing of a spreadsheet, and we'll back it with a database in the cloud somewhere like that. Now, why they didn't just go out and find somebody who actually has spreadsheets, you know, like LibreOffice or somewhere like that, and suddenly say, we want to make a license with you, and we want you to build us one so that we can have it up into a cloud. So it's not Google Sheets and it's not Excel, it's an AWS. We can put a bit of branding onto there, and then we can link it to that. Now, another thing that a lot of these people can do inside Power Apps is that they can link directly to a database. So they can go and link to an SQL server. So straight away. Now, I think Amazon do actually have those sorts of things. So making an app interface that links to this clunker, I can't understand the logic there. Now, and this is where I keep scratching my head, and I'm suddenly thinking, well, why was this app built? It's got this sort of no code, so it's trying to break away and suddenly saying we're differentiating ourselves from the Microsoft, who actually have this quite seriously intimidating things, and we're going to make something quite friendly. But presumably that's because if you go through and look at the connectors through here, if I just type Amazon, there's only one, and that's this Amazon Redshift preview. If I type Google, all there is in Google is just the simple spreadsheets and contacts and tasks and drive. They don't actually offer you the Google Cloud stuff because they want you to use their cloud stuff. So what people most probably have said is, AWS, look, this is what Microsoft can do. What can you do for us? So instead of making an app that has an interface with their databases and things like that they have already, and then suddenly saying, well, what part of the puzzle don't we have? We don't actually have our own spreadsheet. Why don't we go and purchase a company that does a spreadsheet and then we create an online one that we can actually do? That something would be, and I think the last one I was trying to make the point, just how much stuff you can do in a spreadsheet nowadays, and the fact that it can connect outside. It's not totally locked into a couple of people in an office. You can actually link to APIs. You can do export data inside Excel. You can do a whole lot of things. You can link into their Power BI whole environment and things like that. But to go back to 1980 spreadsheet, lock the whole thing in, is to me, and I'm just so confused by it. The only reason I can see that they would do that is they're trying to control an environment such that they can do some pricing. They're trying to make it simple so that somebody can do it. But this is 2020. You look at what everybody else is offering, and this is so limited. And again, the simple fundamentals. Images, can't do that in there. Graphs, again, something like some way, and maps. A lot of the times, if I'm putting it on the mobile, it's because I'm out and about. I need some, a map would be a simple, obvious thing. So it seems that they've gone out and looked, and they suddenly said, what can we make that will fail? And they've said, just the thing, Honeycode. So where to from here? I think in some ways they've got to de-link or decouple their GUI interface from this. That may be one interface, but then they want to be able to link it directly to the AWS services so that they can do that. With the API connections that they're doing to the AWS services at this point in time. And then I can actually understand some of these pricing tiers, because suddenly they can get a lot of muscle that they're doing. They're linking into the corporate's AWS services to get a lot of grunt and a lot of data through it. But doing a dumb program is like, who are you trying to play with? You know, this is a toy. As I said, you look at MIT App Inventor, that's got far more power than this. And that's a purely Android one or something like that. You look at the GlideApp, because it's got the Google Sheets behind. I'm sorry, and that's another thing. You know, just from the point of view of all of these people who are using the Google Sheets in the background, Google Sheets has, as I mentioned before, you've actually got the spreadsheet data on the beginning. You've got the spreadsheet data on the beginning. You've got the apps that you can add in. And then you've also got the Google GAS at the back, so Google Apps scripts at the back of that, which is JavaScript. You've also got triggers on the back of that. You can also link the Sheets into Firestore. You can and so you can link it to external databases. So you're linking into cloud services and stuff like that. So within the Sheets. And this was another point that I want to make about these Power Apps and things like that. These, again, this is where, to a certain extent, looking at some of the free versions of things, you can get so much more than some of these enterprises things. These people, Microsoft, they can link in, and they've created an Excel Online. And I think to a certain extent they made Excel Online just so that they could do the simple apps for Power Apps. And in fact, I'm going to go and look up shortly and see when Excel Online came on, because I think it would be the same time as this, because they needed a simple backend to actually link to rather than all their powerful ones. And they need it in opposition of what's actually happened. But they made that stupid because they want everybody to buy their desktop version, and so therefore they link you to that account, because what the Excel Online is far below. I don't use it as I've used it once on this demonstration app that I've done through here. On this one here, that I can do a bit of formulas and stuff through here, and this one is looking at conditionality, and you can then filter by a certain year to see when certain things are failing and be able to look at this budget and do things. And if I did this again, I would do it in GlideApps, because of the fact that you could end up with a whole load of coding, a whole load of buttons that you could actually just speed up the process overall. So this is just an embed, and I used Excel Online, and so it links through to my OneDrive to get that done. So even the corporates, okay, then they're offering other levels of sophistication through there, and they've got it, and they're also linking it into a whole load more infrastructure. But some of their things are far weaker, and in fact maybe that's why they've actually added Google Sheets into their toolbox through here, is because there's a lot of power that you can link through here that their Excel Online doesn't meet. Google Sheets has so much. So again, this is one of the things where you've got your front end stuff, which is happening at the front end. And if you've just got a basic app and a basic spreadsheet, you can do those sorts of things. Or sorry, if you've just got Excel Online, your app is actually having to do the work. If you've got something like Google Sheets, at the back of that, you can start putting in automations, a whole lot of different coding, and adding different levels of power depending on how deep you actually want to go. So you can go from something simple to something complex. So this is another point that I just want to make with this. In the way that they've actually written this and the way that their coding is, this is 1980s spreadsheet. It is very, very simple. So it's almost like this is somebody, a little baby in a cot. It's in a very closed-in, contained, safe environment that you can't naff up. Can't do much in there because you're in the prison bars. And this is something where, to a certain extent, I've got great admiration for PowerApp, especially looking at it and all of these connectors, is that inside the PowerApp, you can start off as a baby, you can start off with their templates, and then as you get older, you can start linking in and doing a bit more. You can start linking in and doing a bit behind the scenes, or you can start linking in to other services. So you can go from a baby to an adult. So over time, you can have simple ads. And again, if those ads seem to meet a need, you can start building more and more sophisticated ads. And as you build more ads, maybe there's a bit more coding and stuff inside there. But what it means is that you can grow. If you're in this environment, you can grow. If you're in the GlideApp environment with the Google Sheets, if you're in the AppSheets environment as well, you can actually link to the Google Sheets. Inside the Google Sheets, you've got the coding inside there that you can take it to that extra level, and then you can actually go and link into Cloud Functions as well. So that one you can grow. But here, I'm sorry, I can't see much growth in it. And its interface is poor. And again, the real fundamentals from something in 2020 of looking around at what else is on offer, why would you even consider spending this money? The only way I would spend any of this is if my business was totally AWS, that I was locked into that enterprise, and this is the only offering I was given. In fact, I'd most probably be so frustrated, I would end up going out and seeing if I could find some coders or some semi-coder people to actually write the apps for me. But in fact, the other one that I'd actually look at as an alternative is to see if I could find something with the back end of the Google Sheets, to see if I could actually link the Google Sheets somehow through into some of the AWS services, or use the AWS to actually push to something like Google Sheets, because then suddenly I've got an awful lot of different front ends that I can use. So what it is that basically we're trying to, because this has welded the front end interface, when in fact everything else is decoupled. They've got an interface and then they've got their data, and then you link them up. Why, I can't understand in this day and age why they went down this path. Because it means you've got to funnel everything through here. And what they're doing is so clunky. And they're trying to say that it's a sort of a spreadsheet environment. And yet they're processing their spreadsheet. It's clunky. Go and buy a spreadsheet company. Please, just get something online and do it. Because I think you're on a hiding to nowhere. So, points to make. What they're offering here against what you're getting in PowerApps is a lot less. The cost structure in the PowerApps is very, very way higher, and it can be prohibitive. Some of the offerings of the free accounts through here makes this more attractive. It is still very, very limited about some of the free stuff going out of here. I can build an app in PowerApp quicker than I can actually build one there, although I do have some experience and I have an understanding of what it does. So that's an unreasonable thing to actually compare against. The other thing that I just want to tag through there, some of the free versions, like Google using the Google backend, is more powerful than the equivalent that you can actually get from some of the enterprise. So this is where Excel Online is only just has the formulas. It doesn't have all of the power. I'm not even sure if the Excel Online actually does graphs or tables or any of those. Whereas actually it must do, I suppose. Whereas the Google Sheets has the add-ins. It also actually has the JavaScript to the back end. It can link into the Google Cloud Services as well to other databases and things. So that's what you get for free. So when they're offering, and so that's why I think these are also offering Google Sheets as well as things, because the free stuff can actually do more than what it is. So sometimes in the enterprise version, you're getting less. you're paying an awful lot of money and you're getting less than what you can actually get from some of the other tools out there. Though this is one of the things that does annoy me, is that the corporates grab you, and I think the only reason this is coming through is because the Amazon environment doesn't have this equivalent, and these people, the Microsoft environment, are choosing what they link to, and they're definitely not cheaply linking to Amazon Cloud Services, which is perfectly reasonable. And again, my last grizzle on this is for something built in the 2020s, it has no interconnectability with all of the other APIs and things like that. Maybe that'll come later, but basically it's not going anywhere in my opinion. One other thing that I want to just tag on here is I built an app on my last one, was basically just doing a finance app where I can actually just do a budget app that I've actually got. And I went out and tested it at downtown. And it was just as fast as what my GlideApp was. So I have no complaints with its speed on that. So from that point of view, it met, well, actually it exceeded expectations, because I actually didn't think it would do as well, but in fact it did. The only nuisance was actually logging in and getting into the interface in the first place, where the GlideApps, well, it's just slow opening up the particular web page to actually get to the app in the first place. With that one, I actually had to open the Honeycode one. I actually had the Honeycode. I was logged into the Honeycode one first of all. If I actually had to log in first and then go down and scroll down and get the apps, it would have taken a bit longer. But on sheer performance, it was great. Just putting in the data and updating the table worked fine. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that's been of interest for you. If it has been, can you please give a thumbs up? If it hasn't, don't. I have a Patreon account. I'll be interested within any feedback that you actually have on the videos that I make. Thank you.